warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And Alhamdulillah, you're with me, Mazlina Ismail. Thank you for tuning into IKIM and you're listening to Light of Life. Alhamdulillah. In the previous episode last week, we had our guest Azra Banu, founder and chairperson of Carefugees, speaking about women's resilience in times of pandemic. And as we said, this week we will have her once again on Light of Life, but we will be discussing on this topic, mothers, a powerful role model. Assalamualaikum, Azra.
Walaikum salam, Aslina. How are you?
I'm fine, alhamdulillah. I hope you're fine, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
Okay, as we know, as parents, one of our main jobs is to set a great example for our children. And being a great role model is not always easy, as it can make you make tough decisions every single day. And the tough decision is to make is usually the right one, and that is what makes it so tough. Now, to begin our topic, Azra, what is the importance of having a role model to you?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim and Assalamu alaikum, everybody. And thank you for having me again. I'm quite humbled that my views are actually sought, so thank you so much for this. Now, the importance of role model, whether we like it or not, whether we seek a role model out or not, right? It somehow just comes about in our life. There is always somebody we look up to, or we try to emulate, or we admire, right? So inadvertently, that becomes a role model. And is role modeling important for our children? Is role modeling important in life? Yes, it is, because when we're aware that role modeling happens no matter what, we will then be conscious of who we role model after, right? So children especially are always role modeling. Look at a child growing up, a toddler, for example. Who does he role model after? Who is he modeling after? He's modeling after his parents, which is why a toddler repeats what the parent says, right? Sometimes in exactly the same intonation and facial expression, right? Because they are modeling after their behavior, right? So modeling is there. It takes place all the time. Role model is actually identifying someone and wanting to be like that person, right? So is it important? Yes, because like it or not, it happens, right? So what is important now is to find the right role model, okay, for anyone, okay, for you, for me, for our children, for everyone. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Now, if a parent is a role model to the child, as you said, an example of how to live, love, and grow, what makes mothers the best role model? Can we say that women make better role models?
All right. Going back to that child, right? Going back to that child, the child modeling after parents' behavior and parents' words. And even, I mean, you look at how many children walk like their parents and talk like their parents, right? And how girls take after their mothers very often, and boys take after their fathers very often, in characteristics, in personalities, in the way they walk and talk and express themselves, right? So that tells you that whoever is present in the child's life is who the child is going to role model after. Do women make better role models? Do mothers make better role models? I think mothers are more prominent role models in a child's life for the simple reason that they are more present in a child's life, right? Being the main caregiver, right? They are there most of the time. So as a result, the child is going to role model after the mother more, especially in the early phases of a child's life, than anyone else, because she is the main caregiver. She is the most present in a child's life, right? Do mothers make better role models? I would say that because you are more present in your child's life, you have to be the better role model. You have to work hard at being the best role model that you can possibly be, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I remember you said also that women, are more sensitive. And especially, being mothers, we have babies started in our wombs. So basically like a natural nurturers? Probably. Is that in what sense do you think?
This is where the maternal instinct comes
Yeah.
in, right? Mother's
Yeah.
instinct is very strong, isn't it? Right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
A mother's instinct is very strong, again, because a mother is around her children so much that
Mm-hmm.
even as babies, when the baby cries, we're able to recognize the kind of cry,
Yeah.
right? We're able
Yeah.
to recognize their baby talk. We're able to understand it even when others don't,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
Mm-hmm.
the maternal instinct is very strong, okay? And
Right.
as a result of spending so much time with a child, that is what bonding is, that is what imprinting is between a mother and child, right?
Yeah.
We end up knowing them better than anyone else, right? And
Okay.
that makes us, as a result, we are more sensitive to their needs.
Mm-hmm.
Example, right? If your child were to come to you and ask for permission for something, and you send your child to their father, say, okay, go ask your dad. They go to their father, and the father's most likely going to say, go ask mom,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? That is
Right.
the bonding and imprinting between mother and
Mm-hmm.
child, okay? That
Mm.
results in us being more sensitive to our
Right.
children's needs than anyone else.
Okay. So Azra, having said that, should dads feel threatened or compromised? Being a good female role model, would that undermining the father figure in the child's life?
This just reminded me of something my son wrote on Mother's Day. Was
Okay.
it? No, on Father's Day. He wrote on Father's Day, which was just in June, right? And he spoke about how no matter what he does with his son still wants to, still looks for his mummy, right? My daughter-in-law,
Mm-hmm.
right? So he
Okay.
could go out and buy ice cream for his son and spend, like a fun day together. But at the end of the day, the boy still wants his mom,
Right.
right? And the
Right.
boy is 3, okay? So should
Mm-hmm.
fathers feel threatened? Well, if you understand that this is part of the bonding and imprinting process that a
Mm-hmm.
child undergoes, especially in his early years, right?
Right.
And all you need to do is be more significant, or not, sorry, not more significant, just be significant in his life. Do what you need to do as a father. You will become a main feature in his life sooner or later once he crosses that phase. My children are all grown up, right? Ranging in age from 24 to 30s, right? And I can see how my husband and I feature differently in their lives, just as important. We are just as important to them. We just feature differently to them. So, fathers, don't feel threatened. Just continue doing what you need to do as a father. And
Yeah.
once they cross this, phase, this child's phase, usually after the age of 8, 10, right, you will start to see magical things happen. Okay, magical things. Yeah.
Inshallah, we'll see. Now, we know that role models are someone that people admire or try to emulate, and that's one of the hardest part of parenting. Because we're human. Now, does that mean only perfect mothers can play the role, Azra?
Um, there is no such thing as perfection in this world. No, there isn't anything like that, right? Perfection is something we strive for. We try
Mm-hmm.
to be as perfect as possible in everything we do, but
Mm-hmm.
we are relative beings in a relative world, and perfection is not for us. Perfection is in the absolute world. Allah is perfect. We try
Right.
to be as perfect as possible. Is there a perfect mother? Is there a perfect role model? No. Is there a role model who is striving to be perfect? Yes. Right? Who is trying to perfect herself as a mother, as a role model? Yes. And that's what we want to be. That's the
Yeah.
kind of role model we want to aim, right?
Yeah.
I often speak to parents, and I would be one of them too. And we feel flawed. We feel we are flawed as mothers, or we're
Mm-hmm.
not good enough as mothers because our children make mistakes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's not. We should not measure it through the success of our children or the failures of our children, because we do our best, but our children, they're out there in the world, right? Everything
Yeah.
we teach them, every value we try to instill in them is competing with the values that the world is instilling in them, right? Just understand that nobody is perfect, least of all a mother. We try to do our best. We do whatever we can, whatever we know we should do as a mother, and the rest is really, really outside our hands.
But it's a constant struggle, don't you think, Azra, that you need to at least try to be, you know, portraying the best character in your life. And while you know you have probably made mistakes in the last part of, previously, can you still hope to be a good role model? Would you introduce a different role model to your children? Given the flaws that we have, as you said, we just end up being hypocrites.
Um, that's a tough one, right? Because it really talks about self-esteem as mothers,
Mm-hmm.
right? And maybe one of the flaws within us is to compare ourselves to others.
Mm-hmm.
We look at others who seemingly have perfect family life, and family with no issues, no problems, no concerns, and we take that personally, and we
Yeah.
see ourselves as defective mothers, right? And we
Yeah.
feel we have not functioned, or rather we have not performed, okay.
We don't
um,
deserve we don't deserve to be a role model, something like that.
yeah, maybe, right. I would see it as stop putting this pressure on ourselves,
Okay.
okay. Why are we pressuring ourselves into being a role model of a mother? Why not just be a mother,
Mm.
right? Why not just be a mother? We are putting unnecessary pressure on us because we think we have to fit into this perfect mold. Okay, but you know what? We too have our days that we are down and we don't
That's
feel
right.
like talking and we're in a bad mood, or, things didn't go our way. We have those days too, right? So
Right.
when we acknowledge our own weaknesses and our own challenges and our own, less than perfect days, we would then I would hope, right, that we would stop putting this pressure on us, okay, to constantly perform at the highest level. It's not a
Mm-hmm.
performance. It is not a performance. It's just you doing what you should be doing, trying
Mm-hmm.
your best to be the best mother to your
Mm-hmm.
child. And you know what? Your
Yeah.
children will recognize that. You're doing your best. They will recognize that. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
and even flawed mothers. I mean, how many have we seen in life, right? Or maybe our own personal experiences where we know women who have fallen short of the bar of being a mother, but their children love them to bits still. Okay,
Right.
so
Right.
just stop putting that pressure on yourself. Just
Mm-hmm.
enjoy your life as a mother. Know that it comes with challenges, but also know that it comes with so much joy, so
Right.
much joy. Yeah.
Speaking of challenges, I would see every now and then on the Facebook, social media, basically, where you see homemakers, also working mothers. It's like a competition, saying who's doing the best role as a mother. What do you say on that?
You know, I remember when we were giving talks on parenting years
Right.
ago, 10 years ago, 10 years
Yeah.
ago,
Yeah.
maybe more than
Probably.
that. 15 years ago we started, right? In
Right.
2006, 2000. Yeah, we started maybe in 2005, 2006,
Mm-hmm.
giving talks on parenting. And there's so many mothers, working mothers, would come to us feeling guilty, right? That they weren't able to give as much time to their children as mothers who stay home. And like you correctly say, it's like there's a battle between these two. Who's the better mother? And a mother who works cannot be as good as a mother who stays home and nurtures the
Mm-hmm.
kids, because she's just sacrificed and left everything else for the sake of her children. That is the battle that the working woman cannot win,
I
because
feel that.
right? Because we are framing it as the mother who stays home having sacrificed, right, everything in order to stay home. She sacrificed her career, she sacrificed her job, and she sacrificed her social life so she can be home with her kids. Sacrifice is a very difficult word to match, right? It's a
Right.
very difficult trait to match, right? Right. So working mothers feel they're inadequate because they have not made that sacrifice. Why are we framing the? Why are we discussing it? Why is the narrative like this, right? At the end of the day, whether you're working or you're staying home, what matters is how much do you impact your child? How impactful is your interaction with your child? Right? What are you doing with the time that you have with him, whether it's an entire day or just the evening after you're back from work, right? You can be home the entire day and still not be as impactful as you should be because you're caught up. And these days, especially, there's so many things to distract us, right?
True.
You can be
Right.
at home with them all day long and still not be as impactful as you should be. A mother who's working comes back home in the evening can be more impactful because she knows just exactly what she needs to do to make up for the time she wasn't home. So I would say stop pitting these two women, right? As women, please just support each other, man. Just support each other. Whether you're a
Right.
working mother or you're a stay-home mother, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is what you do with your children that matters in the time that you have, whether it's 5 hours or 10 hours. What you do with them in those hours that you have makes the difference.
Excellent.
I hope that
Very
makes you
nice.
feel better.
Yes, it is. I mean, the end of the day, we know that we're doing our best. That's the most important, probably.
Yeah, totally. Like I've had the privilege of not really working, right? Once I got married, and then when my youngest was about 3 years old, is when I got involved in NGO activities, right? But being NGO activities, I just take him everywhere I went. In fact, I just take my children, to my NGO activities. So I had that luxury. I only really got busy once they were much older, right? And they were in school and stuff. So I once they were in school was when I actually went out and did things. So I do not have the perspective of the working woman in a way, right? Leaving her children home and coming back to them in the evening. So my take is stop pitting these two. And my perspective comes from the many parenting talks we've been giving since
But that's
2006. Yeah.
but that's the beauty of it, I see, Azra. The fact that you have the luxury of doing extra things like your NGO charity things, as you don't have to commit yourself to work like some working mothers are, something that we could not do. So someone has to do it, right? So
Yeah.
people who has this luxury should be doing like these activities.
True, yes, right. And again, right, I alhamdulillah, all my children are very conscious of social activism, of volunteering. They all are, and I would say to a high degree that's a direct result of my activities when they were growing up, right? Because I not only got myself involved in NGO activities. In fact, we founded the NGOs. I didn't only just get involved. I actually founded the NGOs with my friends, right? Various NGOs. But I used to take them with me. I used to bring them along for
Right.
meetings even or for activities, right? So volunteerism is sort of in their blood. They've grown up doing it, right? So that would be, so I would advise mothers who do have this time and opportunity to do some form of activism, especially when your children are young. Do it with the children because it instills in them these incredible values.
So we all working mothers can send our children to help
you,
us to pop up all
you
these
can,
values.
except yeah, you can, but even if it's just over the weekend, right? A working mother, right? Over a weekend, you can still just, volunteerism is not something you do when you have the time. It is something you find time to do. You make time for right? And that if you do it like that, you will pass that on to your children too. That would
Right.
be a good role modeling, right? That would be a
Mhm.
really good role modeling. Yeah.
And probably a good me time as well. Don't you think so?
I would think so. Yes, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
In fact, when I attend meetings, right, NGO
Mm.
activities and NGO meetings, I feel okay. This is my space, right? This is my
Right.
space, and this is my area, and where I'm contributing, where I'm productive. Yeah, perfect
Mhm.
me time. One of the really, really good me times to have.
Okay. Now, I'd like to ask you, what do you think on, being highly educated in being a role model? Is that a need to be highly educated mothers?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So we go back to what is education.
Mm.
Right? Because we typically think of education as degrees and universities and
Yeah.
PhDs and
Academics.
paper qualifications, right?
Yeah.
Because we think of it like that. Okay, so we think that someone who's not educated is not of equal value in society, right? And at the end of it, it is not how highly educated you are, but what value do you bring, okay, to the society you live in, the value you bring to your family, okay, whether you're a mother or a father or an aunt or an uncle or a grandmother, etc. Okay, talking of grandmothers, my grandmother came from a generation where women weren't educated.
Yeah, that's right.
Yet, these women, that generation, we
Mm.
hold them in such high regards until today, right?
Yeah,
Why?
right.
Because they brought so much into their life, into the value into their life, and value into the life of those who came through their life, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
so many people walked in and out of my home growing up with my grandmother, right?
Right.
So many people that until today would speak about her,
Mm.
okay, and what they learned and the impact she had on them, the effect she had on them. Now that's you cannot measure. That's invaluable, right? So
Right.
being highly educated is not going to make you a good mother or a good person, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is
Mm-hmm.
knowing the value that you can add to other people's life, okay, and yours, obviously, right? So please, mothers who don't have, who aren't educated in the traditional sense that we think of now, don't belittle yourself, okay? Don't think you are less worthy. Don't think you have less to offer, right?
Mm-hmm.
You are
Right.
way above that. You are beyond that.
Mm-hmm. Having said, adding values to others' life, Azra, if you're a woman out there with no children, does that mean you will never be a role model? After all, there are no kids looking to you for life example or solutions. How should you live your life as in a person, basically?
We seem to measure women, define women through their womanhood, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of it is being married, being a wife, okay, and the other is being a mother, all
Right.
right? And unfortunately, we have in our midst many women who aren't married or who aren't mothers. Does
Mm.
that mean that they are lesser beings or less than perfect? uh, well, look at what one of the best examples of a childless role model of a woman is our beloved prophet Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi
So,
wasallam's wife Aisha
yeah.
radiallahu anha, right? May Allah
Yes.
be pleased with her. Look at
Yes.
her. Look at the impact that she has until today.
Mm.
We
Mm-hmm.
look at the respect we have for her until today. Look at the love we have for her, and she
Yeah.
is that woman, right? Without she was married, but she was childless, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think being a role model as a woman goes beyond being a mother. Being a mother is one aspect of womanhood, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but there are other aspects. Okay, you can be a good role model without being a mother, without being a wife, right? Be a good
Yeah.
person, and you'll
Right.
be a role model, right?
Mm-hmm.
To whoever. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we see that we are living in the time where social media is taking a lot of big role in our children's life or even ours. And we see a lot of characters or pages in social media portraying things that sometimes you do not want to have our children to be involved in. But living in this time, it's really easy to access social media. What do you think on controlling ourselves, like comparisons between one person to the other on parenting and influences like that on parents?
You know, 30 over years ago, I
Yeah.
had problem with my second born. He was a newborn and he wouldn't sleep. He wouldn't sleep in his cot. I'll put him to sleep. The minute I put him in his cot, 5 minutes later, he'd be awake. And I had to carry him and I had to put him on my chest in order for me to sleep so he'd go to sleep.
Okay.
And I had to find a solution, right? And we weren't living in Malaysia then, we were living in Saudi then, where life was very restrictive. Okay. And
Okay.
I had to go out and look for magazines on parenting, magazine after magazine, until I found the problem and the solution. Today, I would just click,
Yeah.
just sit on my phone and look the problem and solution up, right? That's the world we live in today. And everything is so visible, okay? Children are competing with each other. Women are competing with each other. Teenagers are competing with each other. Mothers are competing with each other, right? Exams results. Just these couple of days, I'm seeing lots on my Facebook feed. I have of a particular, I can't mention where, yeah, just to keep privacy, but a community outside Malaysia whom I'm close to, they've just set for a major exam. And friend after friend after friend, they're putting up results of their children, right? 90
Yeah.
over, 90 over, and showing the joy, that the family is feeling, right? That's all well and good. But what it does to the person whose child has not reached that mark,
Yeah.
how does the mother feel and how does the child feel? It's so visible. You're naturally going to feel like, ah, man, I've lost out. Why didn't my child do as well? Okay. And this is a world we live in that is so visible. Things are happening in real time. Okay. You get the
Right.
results and you post it on Facebook. You're posting your child's exams results on Facebook to show the world that he's done well. Okay. It's not
Right.
healthy. You ask me, that's not healthy. Many years ago, my youngest is now
Mm-hmm.
24. 12 years
Okay.
ago, we went to get his UPSR results,
Mm-hmm.
right, at a primary school. This was before social media, yeah? And he got 4 A's and a B. I'm sure he wouldn't mind me keep telling everyone what he got. He got 4 A's and a B. The B was for Malay. And
Mashallah. Mm-hmm.
I was so thrilled, like so thrilled. And I messaged the family and everyone was so happy. But you know what? The school he was at, the whole that they gave the results out, the students who got less than 5 A's were miserable, right? Because
Oh.
nothing less than 5 A's was good enough, right? And the atmosphere from one of happiness was, it was threatening to even affect my son. And I told him, you know what? Let's get out of here. And we got
Yeah.
out and got home and we went home to celebrate, right? Today, that same scenario is on Facebook,
That's
right?
right.
It's on
Right.
Facebook. So remember earlier I said, mothers, stop putting pressure on yourselves, right? Stop. This is a pressure you don't want. This is a
Mm-hmm.
competition you don't want to get into. Of course, we want our children to do well in school. Of course, we want them to get the best grades. But the reality is students who are not going to get the best grades, students who are not going to do well as well in exams, right? So
Right.
do not get caught in this competition, senseless competition, really. Just
Mm-hmm.
be with your child, right? Make sure your child does his best. If he gets A, good job. If he doesn't
Yeah.
get A, he's done his best. And so have
Right.
you, right? Just
Th-
please, just step out of this competition.
I'm sure there are other things that you can appreciate, or it's not fair to define just by academics or certain achievements.
Exactly. Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, again, talking about social media, you see one, every now and then people posting with hashtag supermom, supermom. What exactly is a supermom to you, or is
I
there
don't know.
even
You
such
tell
a
me.
thing?
You tell me, what is a super mom? Is a super mom one who gets up early in the morning, cooks breakfast, whips pancakes, and whatever have you,
And
sends the
then chair a
children off to
meeting, and
school,
then
right?
what?
Chair a meeting, and then pick up kids from school, sew costumes for whatever costume parade you have in school, and sit down with the child during his homework. Is there such a mom? She'd
Hmm.
be exhausted by the end of the day,
Yeah.
right? That's not a super mom, right? I think it's a superlative. Super mom is a superlative, just like superwoman is a superlative. It's really just describing something to the extreme,
Yeah.
right? And I think it's become more like a compliment. If someone
Mm.
calls you a super mom, it's a compliment, right?
Mhm.
If you are called a super mom, I've never been called a super mom, right? But if you're called a super mom, don't take it literally. Don't think now you gotta live to that definition or that
Yeah.
description, right? There
Yeah.
isn't such thing as a super mom. There is a mom. Okay, there is a mother who has ups and downs, who
Yeah.
has good days, who has bad days, who has
Yeah.
days that she feels on top of the world, and days when she wakes up in the morning and she goes, "Oh, do I have to do this again?" You know how many years
Yeah.
I spent sending and picking up my children from school, and
Hmm.
there were mornings when I felt, "Oh gosh, another round," and I spent so much time in the car, right?
Right.
It's not a bed of roses every day.
Right.
Okay.
Mm.
And I think mothers would be the first to acknowledge that, right?
Yeah.
So supermom, yeah, it's nice. It's a nice, someone throws it at you, enjoy it, but don't think you now have to be that woman in a cape running from one thing to another as a
Hmm.
mother.
You don't
Yeah.
have to prove to anyone about your
Definitely.
capabilities of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't have to prove to anyone. You just continue doing what you can. At school,
Hmm.
I teach at Khalifa School,
Hmm.
and we teach them about the three responsibilities.
Yeah.
Number one is making yourself good. Number two is helping others be good, and number
Mm.
three is the physical world. Right? We want to keep it in a good condition. And the first responsibility, making ourselves good, is to always be perfecting ourselves, always try to be the best version of ourselves. So it doesn't
Hmm.
matter whether you're 12, 20, 30, 40, 50. It doesn't matter whether you're a student, you're a teacher, you're an office worker, you're a professional, you're someone who sweeps the road. It doesn't matter. As long as you try your best to be really good or the best person in whatever you're doing, you're fulfilling that responsibility. You've
Yeah.
passed the test. Yeah,
We all are super in our own ways.
true. Yes, yes, so true.
Right. You see, the gist of discussion is parents play a crucial role in shaping the mindsets and attitudes of their children, raising their moral standards, building strength and positivity in them. And parents serve as role models not only through direct interactions with their children, as we said, but through the examples that we set in our attitude and behavior within the family and the outside world. A role model is a person who serves as an example by influencing others. And do you have anything, any advice would you like to give our listeners on our topic, mothers, a powerful role model? Azra is the end of the show,
Yeah,
inshallah.
yeah. I would say that um, as mothers, we want our children to be better than us,
Mm,
right? To be
right.
better than as parents, we want our children to be better than us. And I'm not saying better in
Mm,
education only, or better in work, or better in income, or better in owning material things. That's not the objective of life, right? We want them to be better in attitude. We want them to be better in personality. We want them to be better in characteristics, right? So, as mothers, as parents, we got to set that bar and we want them to surpass it, right? And the most effective way for us to instill in our children, these
Mm-hmm.
characteristics, attitude, right? Honesty, integrity, so important, right? A
Right.
positive attitude is so important. We want to instill that in our children. We got to display that ourselves.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
One of the things we want to do when our children are very, very young is to display all the positive characteristics that we want them to
Mm-hmm.
have. Okay.
Right.
You want them to be kind, you have to show what kindness is. You want them to be generous, you have to show what generosity is. You want them to be honest, you have to show what honesty is, right? So, as
Mm-hmm.
parents, set that bar high.
Yes.
Right? Set it
Right.
high. Okay, and try your best to live to that bar. Okay, in
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
hope, right? We make dua that our children surpass that
Yeah.
bar and
Right.
become better than us in more ways than one. More ways than one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I believe you are sincere to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in becoming a better person every single day. That alone, is a great help on becoming a role model to your children.
Inshallah. Inshallah. Yeah.
Inshallah. We
We're all
want to
just
thank
trying our
yeah.
best. We're all just trying our best, right?
Right.
And when we look at someone else and we see their flaws or we see their weaknesses or we pick on it, right? Know that they too are trying their best. Just like
Right.
you, just like me. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Inshallah. We want to thank you so much, Azra, for sharing your time and your thoughts on this topic. A very important one in this time,
Thank you.
especially in the MCO period where, mothers have probably more time spent at home with their children, and children is looking at them every single minute, every single day. So, inshallah, we hope for the best and we pray for the best for all of us, in these trying times. So,
And
once
we
again,
pray we
thank you.
come out of this soon, and
I
Allah
mean,
brings us all out of it unscathed and, in good health, mentally, physically, spiritually. Yeah.
I mean. So once again, thank you very much. We hope to
Thank
see you
you.
again next time.
Inshallah.
All
Inshallah.
right. You take
All
care.
right.
Stay
Then.
safe.
You too.
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum salam.